There are three branches of government: His Royal Highness, the King, who is represented by the Governor General, the executive, the legislative, and the judicial. Article 72 of the Constitution states that the Cabinet constitutes the executive branch and has general direction and control of the government of the Bahamas. There must be at least 9 ministers, inclusive of the Prime Minister and the Attorney General, to create the Cabinet. The executive branch of government, which I said is the Cabinet, has collective responsibility. That means all major decisions of policies and matters must be made by Cabinet, and there must be unity that all ministers must support publicly whatever the Cabinet decides. Now, if a minister cannot support the decision of Cabinet, he has the option to resign. Many of you may know the school Carlton E. Francis, but it's named after the Reverend Carlton E. Francis, who was one time the Minister of Education and the Minister of Finance. He resigned from the Progressive Liberal Party's cabinet because his religion could not support the introduction of casino gambling within the Bahamas. So he did the right thing. He could not come out in the public and say he supported casino gambling, so he resigned. A minister may make policy decisions relative to his portfolio. However, if the decision might conflict with another's portfolio or doubts arise regarding the attitude of other ministers, this matter should be referred to the Cabinet. Cabinet may also stop an action of a minister if another disagrees and a matter did not first come to Cabinet. Trivial matters should not be sent to Cabinet. Ministerial responsibility. The first responsibility of a minister is honesty and incorruptibility. That means at all times he or she must inform Cabinet to all information that they have. Now here's the problem. How can a minister inform Cabinet in an honest manner if the public servant who gives him the information is not aware of all the facts? I always gave the example when I first meet a minister. I tell him or her that the Prime Minister is in the sky, the minister is on top of the mountain, I, as a permanent secretary, on the slope. I can see the valley, I can see the plain. I can only see that slope of the mountain that I am looking at. The minister at the top of the mountain sees the mountain, sees the plain, sees the valleys. But the Prime Minister in the sky sees everything. So it behooves us as civil servants to make sure that we advise the ministers so that when they speak at Cabinet, they are honest and without the ability to be corrupted. Secondly, full participation in policy decision-making that only Cabinet can make. The minister must be briefed. When I was a permanent secretary on Friday, when the agenda came from the Cabinet, I sat with the minister, sometimes 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the night. We're going through the agenda, and anything that I think that he needs further clarification on, I'll take a note, and Monday morning, I'll have my staff do the research so that by Monday afternoon, he will have a position paper from his ministry on the matters So Tuesday morning when he goes to cabinet, he is able to participate in the discussion. Thirdly, bring those matters that only cabinet can decide on. Too many matters will overburden other ministers. Ensure that those matters which impact the Constitution or any act are presented along with any extraordinary expenditure. Also, if it is an act or it impacts the Constitution, please make sure your minister has a discussion with the Attorney General first. Failure to bring matters to cabinet may lead to other ministers losing confidence in your minister, as it would appear he's acting independently of cabinet, or may take action or actions so serious that the entire cabinet may have to resign, or, as you may have recalled, the need to call a snap election. Because if the Prime Minister appears to be a one-man band and he goes and makes decisions without his cabinet, they will lose confidence in him and force his hand to call an election. How do we take matters to cabinet? Is in a formal document called either a cabinet memorandum or cabinet paper. All major policies should be referred to cabinet. In referring matters to the cabinet, public officers should provide the best advice based on all available prevailing facts, which should be gathered either from scientific research or consultation with experts. Not how you feel, not what you dreamed about last night, not what your mommy or your daddy discussed at the dining room table this morning. There are different types of cabinet papers, memoranda, and all should be easy to read. We have papers that deals with appointments, legislation and regulations, new or amendments. We used to have a bunch that dealt with travel overseas, but under the Minutes administration, and I believe it still attains today, a memo is sent to the Office of the Prime Minister for Travel, and the Prime Minister's office correlate all travel requests and have one paper coming from Cabinet that includes all travel requests, because the Prime Minister makes the determination if that minister or public officer should travel to represent the Bahamas. And that's another thing, stick a pin. Public officers, please, when you travel, it's not like former Prime Minister Christie says, it's not a cocktail party. When you are traveling, you're representing the Bahamas government and its people. You should act and have the decorum of a person representing our country. It's not a party. It's not a free trip. You have to attend all the meetings. You have to participate in the meetings. And you have to take copious notes. So when you return, you can either, one, write a position paper if cabinet needs to be made aware of something. Two, share the knowledge that you have gained from traveling with your colleagues within your ministry. We also send to cabinet any international treaty, any consultation with other ministries, any committee reports, and if need be, an information paper. All cabinet documents, including the agenda and discussions, are secret. Now I will tell you, really there's nothing that is a secret in the public service. What really it is that you were not given a message to be taken to anyone. So you have nothing to discuss. It is either the Prime Minister, the Attorney General, or your minister who speaks to the public on matters, not you. Further, if a decision is made that you do not agree with, it's still not your business. Your job is to execute the decision of the cabinet. And certain things that the cabinet decides on may, for whatever political reason, wish to be delayed until the appropriate time. Therefore, it's not only the person who divulges what the cabinet has agreed to, it's also the timing when that information is to be shared. So while I say there are no secrets, it is who speaks and when they speak. That is what governs whether it should be considered a secret. Timing and whose job it is to relay the information. This slide shows basically how the cabinet paper ought to look. At the top it says, this document is the property of the government of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, not yours. There is, the thing says copy, that is placed to the far right of the paper because every minister and every permanent secretary has a number. The Prime Minister is number 1, the DPM is number 2. So everybody has a number. So it says, if this paper is copied, we know exactly whose paper was copied based on the number at the top. And even if you blurt the number out, someone will still be able to find out from which area was the paper copied. It says cabinet at the top, then it gives the title of the paper, and it says who the memorandum is by, not the minister's name, but his designation. And at the very end, the minister's initial, not his name, his initial or her initials are placed there. And to the far left of the paper is the ministry's name, the file number of the matter that the file that the paper will go on, and the date that the paper was produced.